is that another remote viewer? Before I could even clue into who this was or what he was doing there, he goes like this, and I get kicked out of the base. Like, we're talking like 200 feet kicked out of this base, and now I'm just floating, right? Above the base, like I said, it just looks like snow. Like, there wasn't much going on. I'm like floating outside. I'm like, God, who was that? Why did he kick me out?
He was one of those psychic soldiers. What's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of Maverick Approach. Maverick here. And of course, I got Devon True.
The brotherhood, no otherhood.
Yes, sir. And we have a special guest in the building. We have Elizabeth April. How you doing?
Hey, what's up? So nice to do this in person.
Yeah, see you in person. I've seen you a lot on TikTok and Instagram and all over the place. But for those who don't know, what she does and who she is,
This is going to be good.
it's going to be a good one. So she is a remote viewer, so you got to break that down. And, we did other episodes where, we talked about Project Stargate. We talked about a multitude of things with the government, psychic soldiers, remote viewers. So how did you know you had this ability coming into remote viewing and whatnot?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I never had the right words for it, but as a kid, I had extrasensory abilities. Essentially, it just means that I could see things like colors and energies and auras, but also ghosts and spirits at a young age. I was raised Catholic, so in my mind, I always wanted to be a nun.
Oh, okay.
Because I felt like I was talking to God, and I felt like in this lifetime I could be God's messenger.
Have you remote viewed the Vatican? Have you ever done that?
Oh, I have. Of course I have.
Oh, we got to get into that.
We're going to get into that for sure.
Damn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But religion and that framework never really resonated with me either. So there was always sort of a fight in me. And then at a certain age in childhood, I shut down all of my abilities because I didn't want to be the weird kid.
Right.
I just wanted to fit in. I wanted to be normal.
Were you in the gate program? You heard of the gate program, right?
No, I haven't, but...
Okay. So that was a program that the CIA had created kind of to look for kids that were supernatural.
Yeah, it's a gifted program.
It was a gifted program.
Yeah, to where essentially they were looking for people like you.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say that because you said you shut it down when you were a kid.
Yeah.
So maybe they couldn't sense that she actually had that ability because they were looking for people who had psychic abilities, and they had these flashcards to where it's like a logo or a symbol or whatever, and you'll have to guess what's on the other side of the card.
Right.
So all these different types of things that they're doing in the GATE program, which is actually a part of a bigger program called Stargate, which they, disclose with the CIA and whatnot, where they use remote viewers and psychic soldiers and that stuff. So
Yeah.
They gave like this pink drink out too to kind of wipe your memory. It was like this Men in Black thing. It was crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So when I was 18 and I started to get out of my body, I told my dad what I was doing. I said, hey, it's really cool. Like, I can be meditating and then like hop out of my body and like go creep on my roommate because I was in college at the time. And I can go see like what she's doing or like go over to my neighbor's house and like see what they're doing inside their homes. Like that's
Like in real time?
Yeah, like in real time.
That's crazy.
It's wild.
So I told my dad I was doing this, and he said, whatever you do, don't tell anyone because the government is going to take you and experiment on you.
Oh, he was right.
Shout out to Dad. Shout out to Dad.
Pops.
Yeah, he's on point.
He on point.
So it took me, that was in 2010. It took me until 2016. So about 6 solid years of working with this ability, exploring different realms and timelines and, off planet, on planet, different things. Before I was comfortable enough and felt safe enough to go online. So I started my YouTube channel in 2016, but I just didn't feel safe doing that because he literally instilled the fear of the government in me at such a young age, which I'm grateful for too, because, I was about to like create a blog and like, do all this stuff online saying this is what I'm doing. Like, this is pretty crazy stuff.
Have you ever gotten like, has anybody from the government ever reached out? to you?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
So
Did they do it direct or did they do it kind of like
definitely indirectly.
indirectly? Yeah.
Yeah. And so
It's
I
happened. It's happened to us.
definitely feel like sort of low key I've been watched since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It was back in when was it? It was probably 2014. So before I was online,
Right.
I built my first website, WordPress website or whatever. And I met this lady and she ran Alien Con Toronto, right? Because I'm Canadian, so I'm like from the area. And she heard my story about like my abduction and like my experiences. And she said, "Oh my God, we need you on stage. Like, we need you to speak at this conference." I'm like, okay, great. My first gig. I was like maybe 20 years old. And the night before, so I was speaking at like 9 a.m. And the night before, my website crashes. And so I call up my buddy who was a developer, super smart guy. And I said, "Oh my God, Andy, like get my website back up because I've got this like conference. Like I need my website." And so he goes through and he's like, "This is so strange. There's a virus on your site, but it's a virus I've never seen before." He's like, "This thing is so smart. It's duplicated and created 12 other versions of the virus in the last 50 minutes that it's been up there."
Wow.
So then I said, "Okay, like weird." And then he said, "Wait a second, there's something in the code of the virus." And I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, "There's English words in the code." He's like, "Look, I've seen many viruses, I've seen many codes, and like I've never seen anything like this." And in and amongst he screenshotted it, the dashes and the slashes and the random numbers and the characters, there were 3 English words. And the words were, "Silence is golden."
Oh shit.
What?
So he managed to like get that off the virus off my website, get it back up. I like went to the lecture the next day. I told them before I got into things like about what happened to my website. And I said, "I will not stay silent. Like I'm here to speak up." Everyone's
Right.
like, give me a big applause. And then after the lecture, a bunch of people wanted to come over and talk to me. And there was this guy. Now I'm not used to like alien conferences. So like there's some interesting people there, right?
For sure.
And so there's this guy who's like waiting in this crowd to talk to me. And as he's waiting, he's like twitching and like convulsing. And I'm like worried for this guy who looks pretty normal. And I pull out a chair for him and I said, "Hey, like take a couple deep breaths, like just like sit here and like chill out. And after I talk to everyone, I'll come back to you." So I went back to this guy and I said, "Hey, are you okay?" And he was just totally normal. And he said, "Yeah, sorry about that. I'm a trans channeler." Had no idea what that was at the time, which essentially is someone who's able to bring through, I guess, different spirits or beings like into their body. So like
Okay.
he's like, there was an extraterrestrial that wanted to step into my body and give you a message. I'm really weirded out because I didn't think that was even possible.
Right.
And I said, "Well, what's the message?" And he said, "I know who hacked your website."
No way.
Yeah.
Wait, did you know that?
No, so I said at the beginning of the lecture, right? I said like there was this weird code, right? And it said silence is golden, but like I'm not going to stay silent. So I kind of told the audience that, but this guy is like convulsing and he's like, "Yeah, I know who hacked your website." I was like, "Okay, well then who?" And he said the NSA. Now me being a Canadian, I'm like, I had to like Google the NSA, which is the National Security Agency, right?
Mhm.
Of within the USA. So I'm like, I had no idea who the NSA was or why they would have to hack my site. And so that was like right at the beginning of my career. I think that there's a safety in numbers, but I also think that I'm not big enough yet to become a threat.
Mhm.
And I think I'm kind of flying under the radar in a sense to stay safe.
Right,
It's
right.
almost like the shit I talk about is so crazy that
They're like,
majority-
they won't believe
You
it.
know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
Exactly.
right.
The majority
Yeah.
of the population is like, yeah,
Join
this,
the club.
this girl
Right.
needs some medication rather
Yeah.
than
Right.
like she's actually talking about some real shit.
Yeah.
So I'm like safe in that, but I definitely know that every once in a while my website will get hacked again. And I kind of have an idea of where that's coming from.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Only because, so the NSA, it's
Yeah.
very interesting that you said that
Okay.
because we've been doing a lot of videos and deep dives into the Epstein files and whatnot, right?
Yep.
So I brought up one point to where Epstein was involved in Bitcoin, and they're saying that he didn't create it, but he was heavily involved and invested into it. And he had a development group that he was funding, the Bitcoin ecosystem and continuing to push Bitcoin forward. And these developers were, on his team. He was funding it and whatnot. What's interesting about that is people always had their ideas or suspicions about Bitcoin because Satoshi Nakamoto is the one who founded Bitcoin and whatnot. Nobody knows who he is.
Right.
But people were saying, oh, it's actually made by the government. Only because SHA-256, the algorithm that Bitcoin uses, that algorithm was made by the NSA.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's been linked.
Yeah.
Wow.
So people were saying like, oh, well, maybe Epstein was behind it. He was working with the government, working with the U.S. government, the Mossad, this, that. So I find that pretty interesting because if these people, the NSA, have their hands in Bitcoin, things of that nature, or if they're looking at certain people who have abilities and whatnot, that's the mode technology is to get to whomever they need to get to.
Yeah.
So I find that pretty interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy.
Especially since it's always an attack on my site.
Right.
So, yeah.
How often do those attacks happen?
These days it's like a couple times a year, and it's interesting because the virus or the code that like shuts it down usually always comes from Russia. Like we can trace sort of a VPN back to Russia, but it's also like.
Do you think it's kind of they're just kind of like a decoy?
100%.
Like, oh, it's always the Russians. It's always the
Absolutely.
Russians.
It's
No,
either the
I'm
Russians
thinking-
or Chinese.
That's like the
Yeah,
cop
yeah,
out.
That's what I'm thinking, right? It's the pawn, right?
Yeah, it's sus.
So it's
That's
like,
sus.
okay, I'm sure,
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
So for them to do that, right? So they obviously know that you have these abilities because
Right.
why else would they waste their time
course.
and always give, more to give more credence to that. I always reference documents. I always reference declassified documents and like these programs where they spend millions and billions of dollars on and they disclose it to us, through the Freedom of Information Act. They have to disclose this to us. And they have literally all these things that the CIA has, the gateway process, the Project Pegasus, all these things that they spend money on. If these things weren't real, why would they waste their time?
Yep.
And I've actually done this ability myself. So I guess, is remote viewing astral projection? Because I've done that before.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about it. So,
Okay.
There's like, I don't want to say two different kinds of remote viewing. I taught myself when I was 18 how to get out of my body. I actually taught myself using a mix of lucid dreaming and then also past life regression.
Okay.
So essentially, if you regress someone, you get them so relaxed, it's a trance-like state, so they're consciously aware,
Right.
but they're disconnected from their body. And then in that state of being, you can guide someone back to, say, their Akashic record so that
Right.
they can experience their past lives.
Right.
At a certain point in time, I asked myself, is it possible for me to regress myself and see their past lifetimes, or for me to regress myself and see my own past lifetimes? And then I got to a point where I'm like, well, maybe I didn't have a lifetime in ancient Greece, but can I regress myself and just go there? And I was able to just go there. So it didn't have to be tied to anyone. So then I'm like, great, well, can I regress myself, put myself into this trance-like state, get out of my body, and go to underground military bases? That was kind of the first real exploration I wanted to do, was
Okay.
to see, what is the government doing?
Right.
There's so much we can.
Oh, yeah.
Because we touch on that a lot.
A lot.
I don't want to jump around, but
So, and then I want to just talk about the more legitimate remote viewing, right? So astral projection, remote viewing, I sort of intertwine those terms.
yeah.
I didn't land on remote viewing until quite recently, actually, like just that term. So what's cool about remote viewing is you can go to any place throughout time and space. Like you
Okay.
can go back to like Jesus era and remote view stuff that went on back then, right? And so on and so forth, which is so cool. You can also go off planet and remote view things off planet. And so then in 2024, I asked myself, if I'm going to be a voice for the planet, I want to be able to prove what I can do, right? Because like I talk about a lot of crazy shit,
Right.
And the only validation I ever get is either declassified documents
Yeah.
that are saying the stuff that I've seen,
Right.
or other remote viewers that are seeing the stuff that I see,
Right.
right? So it's like, how do I get the validation? So I asked myself, how can I prove what I do? And that would be through something called scientific remote viewing, or military remote viewing.
Mm-hmm.
So military remote viewing, for me, I just get out of my body, ask where I want to go, and then I go to that place, right? But military style remote viewing is you get a certain number, coordinates, essentially, not longitude, latitude, just random, a series of 8 digits. And those coordinates are linked to a place.
Okay.
Throughout time and space, right?
Mm.
And then as a remote viewer, you do different symbols or whatever. You go through a process and you end up drawing an image of the location, right? So I ended up working with the Farsight Institute, and they do military style SRV called scientific remote viewing,
Okay.
straight out of like the military, basically.
They're U.S. based, or
They're US based, yeah.
Okay.
And so it's funny because even my like teacher there, she's like, I don't really have to teach you, like you already do this.
Right.
So out of about 20 different blind targets, I've been 20 for 20. I've never been off target.
Mm-hmm.
So if you basically put me in a blank room, give me a random series of coordinates and take me somewhere, I can get there. You know, I can draw a picture of it and I can prove what I do. In a scientific military type style.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think that's the biggest thing. You just said it. Like, oh, this is bullshit and doesn't exist. Well, going to the documents, that's why I always refer like to this documents, because I deep dive on all those all the time.
Yeah.
But the spiritual aspect to it, they're starting to drip feed us information. There's been congressional hearings about interdimensional beings and all these other things, and how it's all connected to, you know, how we're able to use our minds and do these abilities in a scientific, through military scientific way. Like they're starting to disclose all these things. So I find that very interesting, and that's the only way to really show people like, hey, not only this stuff is real, but you know, here's all the documents. Here's how it works scientifically. And there's even a guy who they used in the 70s to where he remote viewed Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
And before they had any satellites over there,
Yeah.
he remote viewed it, gave a very detailed description of it. Then when their satellites actually reached Jupiter, it was word for word, description, everything that he said years like before.
Mm-hmm.
And is it true that it's kind of a compilation of all your senses? Is that what remote viewing is?
Yeah, it's so wild because before I did this like scientific style remote viewing or this military remote viewing, I'd never really used my senses in a remote viewing style. But then I show up at this location and my teacher is like, okay, now smell the air. And I'm like, what do you mean smell the air? Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, no, just take a deep inhale. And I did. I'm like, wow, there's something burning. She took me to the NASA, one of the original NASA like rocket launches or something like that. And I was like, wow, there's like this really intense burning smell. Like, is something burning, right? And it was like the jet fuel. And I just didn't realize that you can feel the air, you can sense the temperature, you can smell the air, you can feel the outside of buildings. It's really wild to I just didn't even think it was possible up until she's like, yeah, just feel the building. What does it feel like? And I'm like, what?
That's crazy.
And I was like, oh my God, it's smooth. Like, it's just wild.
Don't forget our healthy doggy treats. Mav and Dev healthy doggy treats are made from natural peanut butter, fresh bananas, and oat flour. Link in bio below.
Yeah.
So question. So when I did it, I want to ask you this.
Yeah.
So when I want to make sure, is this the same thing? Because I accidentally did it, right?
Okay.
I fell asleep and I was in my bedroom. And then I wake up and all the lights are off. And I don't remember turning the lights off. Now I was walking around, I was like, why is it dark in here? What the hell? And it's hard to explain, but what I saw was, you know, those old school etch-a-sketches type of, it kind of looked like that.
Yep.
I can make out certain things and there was outlines. And then I walk into the living room and I'm like, why are all these lights off? I don't remember that. So I turn around and I see my body and I start freaking out. I'm like, oh shit, like what is happening? And then I realized what was happening and I ran and jumped back into my body.
Yeah.
And I couldn't move, and I always have this thing. I don't know if it has something to do with that experience or whatnot. I've probably seen it in a movie. It's always in the movies where you wiggle your toes to wake up. So I did that, and then I woke up again, and then all the lights were on. So I wasn't asleep. I was in another realm or something.
Yeah.
So what was that exactly?
That's definitely remote viewing or astral projection.
Okay.
So when I was just first starting out, I would have this experience all the time where I would be laying down, going to sleep, which is typically like where I meditate is right before bed. But I'm like laying in my bed, going to sleep. All my lights are off and my eyes are closed and yet I'm blinking. And it would just like freak me out. I'm like, why am I blinking right now? My eyes aren't opening. So I'd be like laying there and it would be my like basically my remote body or my astral body blinking. I was like, oh my God, if I'm blinking right now, then what if I were to just open my eyes and look around? So I would open my eyes then and look around. And it was very similar to what you described. It was like everything was like a dark silhouette, but I could see almost like a faint outline of color around like my furniture and stuff. So yeah, kind of like the Etch-a-Sketch, right?
Yeah, it's like an outline.
Yeah, it's an outline of it.
That's
You can
crazy.
kind of see it. So and then you get a little bit more practiced, and you can fully like move around and stuff. Like as a kid, I remember I would like fly down the stairs and like go out the front door and like just like hover around the neighborhood all the time.
That's crazy.
You know,
It didn't
so-
freak you out? Did that freak you out? When you were younger?
No, not at all. It was so much fun. I think, everyone has these abilities. Like everyone
I was
can
gonna ask
do
you
it.
that, for
Yeah.
sure.
Like you don't have to be like born a 7th generation psychic to be able to do this. Like we are all just souls contained with a physical material body. So
100%.
it's like just where's your focus? Is your focus on the material world or is your focus on the non-physical world?
Right.
So if we switch our focus, then we start having non-physical experiences.
Right.
But they're always happening.
Has anybody seen the movie Ghost?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the old school movie, right?
Yeah, Swayze.
Yeah, Swayze.
Exactly what she's describing.
Yeah, that's what it is. And we always reference movies because obviously the DoD has an entertainment media fund where they work with Hollywood, so they
Yeah.
drip feed us information
Yeah,
through
yeah.
movies. But yeah, that's exactly right. That's crazy.
And
That's
the part before that with the government Firestarter. The other part you mentioned, Assassin's Creed.
yeah,
I can keep
yeah,
going.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
All of it.
He sees all the movies.
Metal
So-
Gear Solid too. That's
Well,
All day.
Metal Gear Solid. So I don't know if you remember that old school game. So Metal Gear Solid actually has this in the game where they have psychic soldiers.
What?
Yeah. And this is so crazy because
Can't make this shit up.
yeah, so they have psychic soldiers and essentially they can remote view, they can predict your next move. So it's really hard to beat them.
it's literally
What?
in the game.
So yeah,
It's
so
in the
like if you're
game.
trying to like swipe at them or
Yeah,
punch
it's
them or
crazy.
shoot them, they already know what you're doing, so they'll just move before you even do it.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's crazy, and
Yeah.
and then declassified documents
Drip feeding.
shows all this stuff.
Yep.
It's
Hello.
crazy. So
Truth
they
in
have
plain sight.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy how
Yeah.
much is out there. But so going back to this ability and whatnot, I want to talk about what you just said about the underground, military bases and whatnot. To add to that real quick, there was a former housing official that worked for the Bush administration. She says from 1998 to 2020, essentially, there's over $50 trillion missing. And essentially, it went to these underground civilizations, these projects. So what do you see down there when you remote view,
Mm-hmm.
like underground and whatnot?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I've been to a bunch of different bases. I mean, there's a ton of them, obviously. I think I went to Russia once, but mostly I've just been stuck around North America, mostly just the USA. The first place I went to see what they were doing was Antarctica. Because
course.
I had to know, why is every president around the world all coming to Antarctica and yet there's a no-fly zone?
Right.
So there's a couple things there. One, I did see basically it looked like a giant hole in Antarctica that was there. Later, I found out that goes to an inner Earth civilization.
Okay. Pause real quick. Beardmore Glacier. That's what it's called.
Oh,
So it's like a massive hole, right?
yeah, yeah, massive
I know what
hole.
you're talking about.
Yeah, okay, cool.
So Beardmore Glacier, that's exactly. Continue. Go ahead.
Yeah. So then that was like a long, I was like, oh, there's a hole here, but I don't know what it is. Many years later, I went back to the hole to go into it to check out. And I was like, what? They have a sun down there. It's crazy.
What?
Yeah.
So like an artificial sun.
It's an artificial sun.
So that
Yeah.
goes. I mean, China was doing that.
China just built their own artificial
they
sun.
did that. Yeah.
No way.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
So, okay. So then, but really like that time, so I was like, yeah, maybe 19 years old. And I went to this underground Antarctic base. It looked like nothing from the outside. And so I went in, and this was the only remote view that I had until I tried the military style remote viewing, where I could feel the dampness. So I was going down this hallway, and it was a fully cement, like smooth carved cement, sort of rounded hallway that I was going down, and I could feel that like it was like a damp cement feeling. Like it was very visceral for me. So anyway, so I'm like going down this hallway, and there's all these like little rooms, and you can hear sort of, I guess, like screaming, okay, in the background. I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? It wasn't very populated. And as I go into these rooms, I'm seeing these soldiers, I guess, that were on these beds, and most of them were pretty deformed, but they looked like mutants. Like the what I got was genetic experiments.
Sounds like
there you go.
And so
That was just in the files.
There's
Epstein
just
was
in the
talking
files.
about it. He was just talking about mutants and time
Literally.
travel and
yeah, and so this was back in 2010 that I saw this, right? I didn't speak up until probably 2021 or 2022 about what I
Wow.
saw. Yeah, because the obvious.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
2010 wouldn't have been a good time to speak on
No,
that.
No.
it would not have been. So,
Yeah.
so anyway, I was just doing a lot of like my own investigation. And so I'm like looking, I'm like, wow, like, and so then I kind of asked the question, like, why are they doing these genetic sort of mutations and experiments? And they're not very good at it because a lot of these participants or whatever victims are in pain. Like they were in pain, like they just weren't functioning well. Anyway, so it was, it felt like they were trying to create a super soldier. That was the vibe that I got, but
Okay.
like take it or leave it. That's how I interpreted it. I'm floating down this hallway, right, investigating, and all of a sudden there's this giant man, okay, in his white light body, which would be an astral body or a remote body, right? But like large, like 6'3" probably. And what's interesting is when you're in your remote body, like it's a mere reflection of your physical body. So my remote body is like a 5'0" like female remote body, right?
Right.
And so he's coming down the hall. And at this point, I'd done a lot of remote viewing, but like I'd never been seen before. Humans can't see remote viewers, right? So
Right.
like I can do a lot of remote viewing totally undetected. So I'm confused as to why there's this astral body coming down the hall towards me. And before
Are
I
you
could-
like, can he see me?
it wasn't even that. It was so quick. It happened so quick. I was just confused. I'm like, is that another remote viewer? Before I could even clue into who this was or what he was doing there, he goes like this, and I get kicked out of the base. Like we're talking like 200 feet kicked out of this base, and now I'm just floating, right? Above the base. Like I said, it just looks like snow. Like there wasn't much going on. And I'm like floating outside. I'm like, oh my God, who was that? Like, why did he kick me out of the base?
It was one of those psychic soldiers.
So here's what I did, because I'm an idiot and also a curious idiot.
You went back in.
Yeah, of course, right? I had to know. I had to know what happened. So there's something you can do in remote viewing. It's like an invisibility cloak. It's like you can bubble yourself into this invisibility cloak. It's like a frequency where you're not necessarily, it's like turning the dial on the radio station. Okay?
Got you,
You
yeah.
should change your frequency. So this is what I did.
So hold on, real
Yeah.
quick,
Yeah.
because it's
What?
so the CIA declassified documents as well, to where it just triggered my mind. You said radio frequencies, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we have these kind of liquid crystals in our bodies
Mhm.
because it's the same kind of crystals that radios have to receive
Mm.
frequencies. So we're essentially receivers as well.
Okay.
So our bodies work the same way.
Yeah.
So that just jogged my memory. So it's kind of like tuning
Yep.
into different frequencies.
Yeah.
Speaking of frequencies, there's a frequency called 7.83 hertz. I sleep to it all the time. The earth, under the earth's surface, is that same frequency. They call it the earth's heartbeat. Is there a specific frequency for remote viewing that help you?
I bet you there is, but I've
Oh,
never.
but you just
I've never explored it. Like
Right.
binaural beats is kind of what
yes,
you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes.
No, I've never explored it, but I'm sure that there's a frequency you can play
There's
Yeah.
gotta
to kick
be.
you out.
I
of
go
your
to
body. There's
sleep
gotta
to
be.
7.83
Yeah.
hertz,
Yeah.
and I promise you, it is the most calming thing because my
Right.
mind is always going.
Yeah.
But it's something to these frequencies.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
It's
Everything's
definitely-
frequencies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything's frequencies, like from obviously the music and what we see, the lights, like everything's frequencies. Our soul, like that's why going back to those files, they literally said we have like these liquid crystals that we receive. So even they said neuroscientists basically said our gut feeling
Mhm.
is actually our future selves talking to ourselves.
Oh wow.
So we're receiving this information from ourselves saying, I shouldn't go in that room or I shouldn't do this deal. Where is that coming from? Because you know
Right.
your gut is your kind of second brain.
Yep.
So we're receiving these frequencies from either other timelines. It could be timelines.
Yeah. Exactly.
It can be our future selves, whatever the case may be. This is why it sounds crazy, but this is why you have to pray or meditate for the well-being of your future self and your past self.
Mhm.
Only because people think of time as linear. We're experiencing that, but it's not.
Right.
But the fact that if you say you pray for yourself or you have the well-being for your past self, people are like, well, why do you do that? It's already happened because eventually your future self is praying for you now.
Interstellar. It's always in the movies.
Okay.
Hello.
Back to the future.
Back to the future.
So again, yeah. So when you think of that like that way, my future self right now is essentially praying for myself here
Yeah.
Mhm.
because you constantly do it.
Yeah, you know how I am. I'm super sensitive to like energies, frequencies. and
Yeah.
I feel like I've always been like praying for my past self.
Yeah.
Like it's
It's all interconnected.
It's all connected.
but I
yeah.
think it's connected to these abilities as well.
Yeah.
So this guy kicked you out. So you went back in.
So I went back in and I popped in behind him. So now he's all kind of riled up and agitated and he's like searching, right? He's going through the base. So I pop in behind him. He doesn't notice me. And for every remote body, there's a cord that connects your remote body to your physical body.
Okay.
I have one, he has one. So I saw his cord, right? So he's going this way down the hallway and I follow his cord to his body. I'm like, who is this guy, right?
Mm.
And so I follow this cord down the hall and then around the corner. And in this very small room, there are two men in military fatigues. And once again, very small room. And there was like a desk there with a divider, kind of looking like one of those study desks.
Mm-hmm.
The divider didn't matter because each of these men were in these chairs. They were slumped down like this. One of the men was like skinny, like super little and skinny and kind of nerdy. And then the other guy who I saw down the hall is like this big, bulky, 6 foot whatever guy. But they're both there. Their eyes are closed. Their heads are down. And I could see their grounding cords going out from their body, connected to their remote bodies. So these were obviously two military remote viewers that were monitoring the base. This is what I've seen with Area 51. This is what I've seen with essentially top secret bases.
Right.
That they don't just have soldiers, they have remote viewing soldiers
For
looking
sure.
for
Oh yeah, they have to.
other remote viewers just
Yeah.
like me, probably looking for like Russian remote viewers or whatever,
sure.
right? But like, and I'm just a civilian. But yeah, that was one of the first sort of kind of scary predicaments that I got myself into as a
Yeah.
remote viewer, just not really knowing.
Right.
I went back to the Antarctic base just recently, probably in the last year, totally cleaned out. There
Really?
was a
there.
couple of individuals there. There was no military remote viewers. I did
Wow.
not get caught or seen at all.
So this is the same base you visited
same
before.
base I visited before, but all of the genetic experiments, everything like shut down.
How
That-
long ago was that first time that you did that?
2010.
Oh, it was a while ago.
Oh yeah, so they moved.
They cleared it out.
Yeah, they cleared it out.
So what's
Yeah.
interesting about that is that we've talked to another remote viewer and she said the same thing. They're doing a lot of experiments like that to
Yeah.
where they have these mutant type of things going on and whatnot. So it's funny that all these remote viewers have the same kind of story.
Yeah.
And now again, disclosure, we're seeing in the Epstein files, because in the Epstein files, he's talking about looking into time travel and mutants.
Wow.
And I think that, we were just saying that Epstein was, it's the surface level is the trafficking stuff.
Right.
But when you go deeper into it and what he was really into, bioengineering, eugenics, he was looking into time travel, he was looking into mutants, he was looking into all these different things. Now we see it.
I think the public is going to be looking at us a lot different now that the Epstein files have come out.
Yeah,
People
now
like
it's just
us.
investigative journalism.
Yeah, now,
We're not.
now,
We're
now
not,
we all don't sound so crazy.
Now we don't sound so
It's
crazy.
So true. So true.
It's like, hey, look at these documents, and the DOJ just released all this stuff. Been talking about this stuff for a while,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's crazy to see. And then also going to what you saw there is very interesting because you said there was a cord, right? So
Matrix.
well, yeah, it reminds me of that.
It's always in the movies.
It reminds me of that.
That's crazy that she said that.
Yeah, because we had the cord. So it's kind of like the circle of life, right? It all has to do with, the spirituality, birth, and whatnot, because we have an umbilical cord when we're born, how we're connected to our mothers.
Great point.
So it's just kind of the same thing of how they're using these abilities and whatnot, and they have a cord.
So let me just drop a bit of a quantum bomb on you.
Okay.
Okay. Talking of the Matrix, right?
Okay.
I'm not great with pop culture. Like I'm like literally.
That's what we're here for.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
You connect the
Fantastic.
dots.
It's
But
the
I,
perfect.
I do know the Matrix, and I want to give you a reference. And this is something that I've been working on for a number of years now. All right. So I love quantum mechanics. I love aliens. I love other dimensions. I love the abilities that we have as conscious beings. But quantum mechanics just lights me up. Like that just fires me
I
up.
love it
It
too.
gets me going. Like
Yeah.
different timelines, weird glitches. Everyone's been experiencing these glitches.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've also been hit with a huge number of solar flares recently, which is upkicking our electromagnetic frequency,
Right.
right? Which is creating more glitches.
Yeah, because the polar's flipped.
Yeah, the poles aren't flipped yet, but they're
Oh, they're about to.
well, yeah. So I mean, I got told this back in 2010, 2011 that
Yeah.
we're not going through global warming, right? This is the conspiracy. We're going through a pole shift, right?
Sorry, I mean the sun's polarity just
Oh
recently.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yes, the suns. Yes. And then our electromagnetic poles are shifting on planet Earth as well,
Correct.
which is creating weird weather events, and whales are washing up and things like that. Besides the point. So, you got the double slit experiment. You got Schrodinger's cat. You got spooky action at a distance or quantum entanglement, right? You've got all these really cool sort of theoretical concepts. I've experienced all this stuff firsthand. That's why I know quantum mechanics without ever having to read a quantum physics book, right? So here's this concept that I've been working on. I call it quantum uploading and quantum downloading, okay? So I want you to think for a second, and this actually has been proven by science. So it's like, man, the implications are so vast. But it's like the seed that I have to plant these days to let people know how powerful they are and how much access they have. All right?
Absolutely.
So each one of us humans, all right, we have this this library of information, right? We've all learned lessons. We've been through challenges, highs and lows, ups and downs, but all of that is knowledge. We have this knowledge within us. Then you take it one step further and you say, well, time doesn't really exist. Time is simultaneous, right? So not only do we have all of the knowledge and the lessons and all of the experiences of this moment and this lifetime, but we have all of the moments and the lessons and the experiences of all of our past lives and all of our future lives, right? So then there's something called a consciousness grid, okay, all around planet Earth. And interestingly enough, this has been proven by science. So quite a long time ago, they did this study, and there was researchers on an island, who knows where, on the planet somewhere, and they were observing these monkeys, this colony of monkeys. And the monkeys ended up learning this new trick. It was like they took something from the island, they used it as a tool to get more food. Well, oddly enough, halfway around the world, this other colony of monkeys started using the exact same tool at the exact same time without a phone call, without an email, with zero communication. This is proving that we are all interconnected through this sort of consciousness grid.
For
right?
sure.
Okay, so we're all connected. We all have access to this grid. So what if I were to tell you that all you would have to do to learn a new language or learn a new skill was to download it from the consciousness grid? Or if you're really struggling financially, and that's a lesson that you have to learn, you just upload that lesson, right? So if we go back to the movie The Matrix, right?
I know Kung Fu.
right? Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
What does he do? He plugs into a computer and he
Right.
downloads exactly what he needs.
Right.
Right? I believe that this is absolutely entirely possible. So I'll give you a really good practical use case for this. When I started working with this skill, it was probably 2019, 2020. And I was really just contemplating like the capability of like this quantum existence that we're in, and that it's all a simulation and a video game and we can upload or download. And so around this time, my dog ended up eating a ton of chocolate. Like it just like literally like a death amount of chocolate for a small dog.
Damn.
And I was living in Joshua Tree at the time, and the nearest sort of animal hospital was like 2 hours away. It was 8 p.m. and I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
I was so worried, giving her, water or whatever. And as I was sitting there thinking about quantum uploading and downloading, I thought to myself, well, can I just upload the poison from her body and just upload it to the grid? And like human beings can eat chocolate. Like that's not a big deal for us. Like we can take that on.
Right.
And so I start pulling energetically all of this. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but like I start pulling the poison of the chocolate from her body. And I swear to God, she never threw up. She never had diarrhea. She never got sick. Okay. She should have been dead by the amount of chocolate that she
sure.
got into. Right. So then I was like, wow, that was wild. Like she was perfectly fine the next day and everything. She was like pooping tinsel for a while, but that's besides the point. So then a couple days later, I was laying in bed, right? My mind is just running because of all these quantum concepts, and I could not get to sleep. And so my partner at the time was sleeping next to me, and she was like passed out. She's snoring away. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder if I could take a little bit of her sleepiness and implant it into me. And just like that, as I'm taking sort of this melatonin from her body, I get hit with this wave of exhaustion. Like, oh, that felt better. It was like taking a sleeping pill.
Right.
And all of a sudden she starts rocking and rolling, and you can tell that she's starting to wake up. I'm taking her sleepiness from her.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden I'm thinking about this conversation that she had that day with her mom that I wasn't there for, but I'm like replaying the whole conversation. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't just take her sleepiness. I took her all this other stuff. I took all this
Right.
emotional stuff on,
Right.
right? So to this day, what I'll do is if I can't fall asleep, I'll lay there and I'll start taking from the collective consciousness grid the sleepiness, not of one person, but of multiple people. And then I'll put this like quantum filter, kind of like a water filter.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll filter out all of their like emotions and their
Yeah, not
karma
taking all
and like
that
their
stuff,
bullshit.
yeah.
And I'll just like drip feed like pure melatonin into my being and just pass out within minutes.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
That's just a very simple use case for quantum uploading and downloading. But can you imagine what
Yeah,
we
what
could
else we could
really
do.
do?
Yeah. I mean, let me ask you this. With all that being said, and I think so, are we in some type of simulation? Or is this some type of hyper intelligent supercomputer type of situation?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all about simulation theory, but maybe in a different way than most people think, right? Like
Mhm.
it's funny because when I was a kid, I would play The Sims a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm a 90s baby, so like The Sims
Right,
came
same.
out. And it was always this like really trippy experience of like playing the character in the game, and then like you could get the Sims character to play The Sims on their computer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there was always like
It's
this
very meta at that point, yeah.
very meta, right? And so I loved that observation. And it's like, wow, like can we observe us playing the character here? So I do believe that like this is essentially a fever dream for the soul, you know? I mean, it's scientifically proven that our brains can't tell the difference between real reality and our dream state.
Right.
Right? It all feels very real to our brains, and we react and respond to it in a very real way. So who's to say this is really real? Not to mention quantum mechanics says that everything that we perceive as solid is not solid at all.
Yeah, there's
you
space
know?
in between, actually.
And anything
yeah.
that you're not observing is actually just in a wave state, which means everything behind me that I'm not looking at is just all quantum particles just arranged randomly until I look back and I observe it.
The double slit
That's
experiment.
Double slit.
Epstein was talking about that stuff
and,
Yeah.
and
in his interview.
Schrodinger's cat, right?
Yeah.
The cat is simultaneously dead and alive.
Right.
So I believe that in a sense, this reality is a video game. And you know how you're in an open world concept in a video game and you're like running around and you see the buildings sort of populate and
Yeah.
render? That's how this reality actually works. Like it renders as we observe it. So then the real question is, you know, we are the ultimate creators and programmers of this video game, and we've actually just been conned into aligning to the program that they want us to believe, right? So we're all just collectively accepting the reality that they're putting in front of us. What were to happen if we step out of that matrix, if we
Right.
step out of that reality, if we question things, and then we start creating our own reality through observing something completely wild.
Right.
So, I mean, this goes into timeline hopping, but it also goes into manifestation. And I really never try and use the word manifestation because it's so overused and abused, like
Right.
in the spiritual community.
Right.
And people always like, I can't manifest. It's like, no, it's not about that. It's actually just about observing something objectively long enough, right? So the way that I describe quantum timeline hopping or manifestation is like take something completely random that you don't care about. And that's really important because the more attachment we have to something, the more projection we have around it, therefore the more blockers we have. So for me, back in the day, it was like a basketball, right? Like, I don't care. I don't really play basketball. It's not in my life. I don't watch basketball. I'm going to manifest a basketball, right? Out of thin air. So what you do is you imagine visually a basketball as if you already have it. And if you can sort of imagine this being like a transparent piece of paper, right? And you just draw the basketball on the transparent piece of paper. Well, it's transparent. You can see through it. It doesn't really exist. Then you observe the basketball again. You think about it again. You take another transparent piece of paper and you draw that basketball. The basketball becomes a little bit more clear, and you do it again and again and again. And essentially what you're doing is you're densifying that thought.
Right.
The more you focus on something, the more you bring it into this dimension or this density. And then all of a sudden I'm walking down the street and what happens? A basketball comes rolling right in front of me.
There you go.
And I pass it to the guy who lost his basketball, you know?
Yeah, that's
And
crazy.
it's like, there it is.
Right.
So that's just timeline hopping, right?
Right.
Through observing something that you want, but without ego or attachment.
So to add to that, so going into quantum computing,
Yeah.
I think they're using the same techniques only because Google has a computer, a quantum computer that explains this very thing, to where they're saying, if we don't have a solution to a problem, we have this quantum computer and they have something called quantum bits, to where on a quantum level, it goes into this, how they explain it, they go into other universes, other timelines. They bring the solution out of that timeline into our reality, and now we have the solution.
Cool.
This is how they explain their quantum computer. So for them to not only disclose this, but now they have access to these things to where essentially, if you want to call it manifesting or whatever it is, they're pulling it from other timelines and creating a solution, or if it's something that we thought of yet, you know, we already have a solution to a problem that hasn't arisen yet.
Mm-hmm.
So is that kind of like the same thing that you're explaining, like pulling from these different timelines and whatnot?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, truly every single timeline you could ever think of exists simultaneously. So like in this moment, as I say these words, we would all be here, but I'd be wearing something completely different.
Yeah, that could be blue instead of white.
Exactly. But we're
yeah.
having this exact conversation, except
Right.
with one minor alternate choice. So if you really want to, and then it goes into like free will versus destiny and what is
Yeah,
fate. And
yeah,
like,
exactly.
You know, and it's just
Ant-Man,
like,
anybody? Ant-Man? Anybody?
Yeah.
Anybody seen Ant-Man?
Yeah.
Bill and
Bill and
Ted?
Ted. You got Back to the Future was my favorite movie of all time. But yeah, is there a free will, would you say?
So there's both. Free will exists and destiny, and your predestined sort of fate or contracts or blueprint exist. And what's really interesting is people in the spiritual community believe that oh, our spirit guides are here to like lead us on the path of least resistance, or they're here to like save us from that car accident. But actually, if that car accident was destined on your path, your guides are leading you to the car accident, right?
Good
So
point.
that you can learn something.
Right.
So people believe that, sometimes it's like, for me, and like getting into timelines, and like I just wanted to like fuck with my own contracts for a long time. Like I wanted to fuck with my destiny.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, fuck you, destiny. I get to choose, right? I want to choose with my free will. And I was like that. I was such a rebel for like many years, right? And so I would do really random things just to fuck with my like timeline, right? So I'd be sitting at my desk thinking about these concepts, and I would take something completely random on my desk, like a pen, and I would just chuck it across the room, just randomly. And I knew that in the majority of the timelines, like I wouldn't have done that. And then you kind of get caught up in like, well, in this timeline, I chose the blue pen, but in another timeline, I chose the red pen, right? And it's like, so then, but was it always destined for me to do this in the first place because I'm discovering quantum concepts and trying to fuck with it, right? So it's just like, it goes on and on and on. But, if you think about most people in society and like autopilot programming, right? They're like blissfully ignorant. They have no idea this shit is going on.
For sure.
And every day for them looks the same. They wake up, they drink their coffee, they go to their 9 to 5, they come home, they like play with their kids, and then they go to bed and they repeat it all over again, right? If you want to live a life full of miracles or full of quantum glitches, here's what I recommend. Do something different every single day. Utilize your free will in the present moment to switch up your timeline. If you wake up in the morning and you typically go for that coffee and that's just an autopilot thing that you do, stop in that moment and ask yourself, what are my other choices? I have orange juice, I have water, I have tea, I have nothing at all. Choose something different.
Yeah, because we're creatures of habit.
So to that point, so you're saying that we're accessing more possibilities, which mean more power, to where we can be more aware. And if we're selecting these things, it's kind of like a choose your own adventure type of video game.
So as we switch up our main timeline by making minor choices that were not predestined, right? Or not sort of an autopilot, what happens is we start to live in a state of being where we're in this sort of chaos state or a wave state. As long as you have conscious awareness to choose in every single moment, switching quantumly from one timeline to another, yeah, sure, you picked up that pen and you threw it, or you did something weird, or you hopped on one foot, or I used to clap randomly in the middle of my day just to like switch up, and the vibration of the sound and everything kind of just breaks it. So doing these random things, but in a small way, and then all of a sudden for bigger things, like maybe you want to switch the vibration of your relationship, or you want to change jobs, or you want to, live somewhere else. Like the bigger things become a lot easier because you're in a wave state. You're in a state of flux.
It's to get you out of the zombie trance that we're usually in.
Yeah,
as human
you're not
beings.
as locked into your reality, and you're also not as scared of change.
Right. So that definitely unlocks a lot. I mean, going back to the movies and whatnot, how we always do, or TV shows. So there is an old school TV show called Quantum Leap.
Oh, cool.
Okay. So Quantum Leap essentially explains this very thing.
No way.
Yes. So this guy,
Yeah.
he goes into different timelines, different people's lives, and he's himself, right?
Okay.
So, but say he'll go into Elizabeth April's timeline, right?
Mhm.
So he looks in the mirror, he's you, right? But he's himself.
Okay.
And he is experiencing this part of your life to where he's learning something, he's experiencing something, and then he jumps to another timeline. Like he'll be somebody in the 70s or somebody in the 1800s or somebody in the future. And he's learning these different lessons. He's doing these things in this timeline to where he's kind of adjusting or fixing whatever is in their life, because consciously he's not that person.
Right.
And he's doing these different things and he's quantum leaping. It's crazy.
Could that be
so
like intuition? Like
let me just
kind of
in a way?
There's a like semantics, right? It's like, how do we fucking label these things
Right.
that are not like necessarily rooted in this reality?
Yeah.
So that just reminds me of something that I used to do all the time. So when I was a kid, okay, this is gonna sound weird, but whatever, just go with it. When I was a kid,
Nothing sounds weird here.
Nah, not on this show.
when I was a kid, I used to wonder what it was like to be my cat.
Okay.
So my cat would just like, purr or like lazily walk around or stretch or whatever, right? And so I started to hop into the body of my cat, okay, as a kid, like as a young kid. And to the point where like, not only would I feel the whole body, like the movement, everything of being a cat, but then like so I was like a passive observer, but in her body. So like I wasn't making choices. Like I couldn't be like, jump here. Like I was just like observing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so she would like go around a corner and like rub her face around this corner. And I could feel what it felt like because there's so many different nerve endings on a cat's face, like where the whiskers are.
Yeah.
I could feel what that sensation felt like. So when I was around like, I'm 33 now, I was like maybe 25. I had this sort of recall of this memory. And so I asked myself, can I do that again? And
Today, you're talking like now?
Like, yeah,
Like-
I was like 25 at the time, right?
Okay,
So like
okay.
10 years ago almost. And I was like, can I do that again? So I was driving on the highway and I was like, and this, I hesitate to even say this because for me, I have like a high morality, okay? And what I do, you kind of have to, or else you're either just like corrupt and evil and you
Yeah.
use these abilities for like your own power and gain, or you've got a high morality. And I've got a pretty high morality, moral compass.
For sure.
But anyway, so I hesitate to say it because I didn't have as much of a moral compass back then. So I was driving on the highway and I thought to myself, can I hop into the body of the driver in front of me? Right? Just passively. Immediately, as I think this thing, I'm in this woman's body in her car and I'm driving and the same thing, I can't control her body, right? I don't know, maybe that goes against the law of free will, probably. But I can see out her eyes. Like it was so wild. And I knew what my body looked like. And I was like, she has blonde hair and blue eyes. And she's like maybe 45, right? So the only way that I could validate my experience was to, of course, drive by her and take a look at who it was. I mean, when you're behind someone in the car, like I couldn't even see the back of her head. Like I couldn't see any defining details, her hair color, anything, her skin color, nothing. And so I drive by her and she's exactly who I felt in that moment.
Wow.
So it's absolutely possible for us as remote viewers even just to hop in and out of different bodies and gain access to those experiences.
Wow. So it's the same thing that they explained in the TV show.
It's always
Yeah.
in the movies.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So does that get overwhelming for you when you're remote viewing or you seeing these different things? Is that like very taxing on you?
When I was a kid, I created this sort of boundary, which is when my physical eyes are open, I'm just rooted in this reality because I was seeing like dead people and like just a bunch of weird stuff.
That's
like,
happened
as
to
a
me.
kid.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of dead people.
Yeah.
He'll tell you the story.
He's like the Sixth Sense kid growing up.
Yeah.
Promise you. It's always in the movies.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a few experiences that was like super paranormal. Like one time I was falling asleep in a chair.
We can go all day. Stories about his.
Yeah, I know.
Like he was the Sixth Sense kid. Go ahead though.
So I was falling asleep in a chair. I was kind of dozing off, and I reached a point to where you're in between this reality and the dream reality.
Yeah.
So I was in between that. So as I was dozing off, I closed my eyes. As soon as I closed my eyes, I was in between. I see a room full of dead people, and I know they were dead. And they were all reaching out to me doing like this.
Oh no.
Thriller style.
Yeah, they're all reaching out to me, but I sensed that they were all trying to tell me something all at once. So it was like a doorway, and they're all doing this. Like they all had different stories and different things they wanted to like tell me to maybe tell somebody else. I don't know. So I wake up screaming. and
I'm playing Dreamcast.
Yeah.
You guys remember Dreamcast? I'm literally playing Dreamcast,
Yeah.
and this guy's sleep behind me.
Yeah. And I wake up screaming and I jump up. I'm like running as I'm waking up. And he's running at the same time.
We're both running. Like, where we going?
So where we
Because I'm like,
going?
wait, hold on. He took off running. I'm like,
He's like, what
okay,
the hell's
yeah.
going on?
So where we going? I'm looking on my
Yeah.
left.
So I have a lot of stories like that.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Dude, you got to tell a story real quick about our cousin that passed, and you didn't know him because he passed before you were born?
Oh, yeah, real quick. So I
Vaughn.
have another paranormal experience to where I forgot how old I was, super young.
I think you're like 3 or 4.
Yeah, probably
Oh,
like 3
wow.
or 4. And I was on the couch and I was playing with my toys and whatnot. My mom's in the kitchen. She's cooking and whatnot. And then she hears me and she goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "He won't stop messing with me. Vaughn, he won't stop. He's like doing this and this and that." Right?
He's like, who?
And she was like, "Yeah, who did you say?" I was like, "Vaughn." And she was like, "Oh my God, Vaughn died years ago before you were born." And then he was like a trickster and he likes to play around and stuff.
Wow.
Likes to agitate.
He likes to
Yeah, yeah.
agitate.
One of those kind of guys.
So she had to confirm, who? Vaughn's doing this. So she runs over.
Yeah,
picks
my
me up,
mom's like the scariest lady ever.
runs over
Literally.
and gets the fuck out of there. She was like,
Yeah.
"How did you know this person? Because
Yeah.
you weren't even born when he
Right.
died."
Yep.
So yeah, I have stories all the time like that.
And so, in seeing that stuff as a kid, and my mom was really freaked out about my abilities too. I made this rule that when my eyes are open, I'm just here. I'm only seeing the physical reality. When I close my eyes and choose to open my third eye, I can see beyond this reality. And for me, that was sort of a safety mechanism of like being able to exist here.
Right.
Every once in a while, I'll get bored. Okay. And then I'll just like tap in and see what's going on. Highly do not recommend that. The one time I was in a bar and I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe I was just like not having like a great time or like not like stimulating conversation. And I was like, I wonder what the energies look like in this bar. Oh my God. It was like everyone's emitting a frequency. There was all these colors and energies, and it was so completely overwhelming. So these days, I don't really get overwhelmed in doing what I do because I have like some good healthy boundaries.
Right.
But when I do sit down to remote view, I always equate it to like 1 hour of remote viewing is like 3 hours of doing anything else.
Wow.
Because it's like sitting down and doing an exam for an hour. Like it takes all of your mental concentration and focus, and it does get really draining.
Do you need like silence or like what do you need? Is it like what's the process? Like meditation? Like what do you actually do?
So you get into a place of observing everything without reaction. So it's actually called equanimity. It's a state of equanimity. So it takes a long time to do this. Before it took me like 60 minutes, 45 minutes to like get into a place where none of this existed. Now it takes me 2 seconds because I know how to get there. But like if I'm hungry, I can feel my stomach rumbling, right? Like that can be grounding. If it's cold in the air, like the temperature of the room can bring me back into my body. Like if there's like a neighbor that's like passing by and like talking really loudly, like that'll snap you back into your body. So obviously, ideally, you want like perfect conditions, like a nice quiet space, a safe space. But I've really tested myself just because I don't want anything in this physical reality to put me back in my body. Like I want full control over it.
Right.
So like sometimes I've been like in the middle of, downtown Toronto, like hustle bustle. I'll be like sitting on the edge of like a planter and I'll just close my eyes and be like, all right, where can I go? Like there's horns blaring, there's people talking, there's like, something smelly in the air, whatever it is, all these things to bring me back in my body. But I've really trained myself that no matter what it is, I can leave my body and go wherever I want, despite any sort of physical sensations or distractions.
Got you. Have you ever remote viewed any like off-world places like Mars or any other planets?
Yeah. So in my my SRV training, they took me to Venus, I believe. And that was really cool. I've also been to Mars as well. There's a lot of underground military stuff happening in Mars. Some of it's human, and then some of it is, a lot of it is extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I've seen something just came out. There was actually pictures of like astronauts or something on Mars. Like they've actually been to Mars. So that's actually crazy. You've seen.
Oh,
I
that's wild.
just saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. They're saying like it was like this conspiracy. I mean, we
Yeah, I would say-
can't trust that word anymore. But yeah,
It was more like it felt like a secret space program type of thing. Like humans there, like interacting with the extraterrestrials, like in these underground
So it's
bases.
occupied.
Oh, it's definitely occupied. Not like fully occupied that I've seen like other places, but it is definitely more occupied than we would think.
Right.
And then I go every single month. I go to this huge mothership that's occupied by the Galactic Federation of Light.
Oh,
Mm.
I was gonna talk.
Yeah.
I was gonna touch on that. Yeah, go ahead.
And I talk to those beings telepathically. So I'll remote view, like I'll go there in my remote body, and then I'll ask a question. So I'll basically like hover just outside of the ship, and then I'll ask a question, and then I end up going to the being that can best answer that question. So I'll meet like new beings. I'll go back to like beings that I've talked to before. And I've been doing this since 2011. And then 2020 happened, and they told me that I needed to tell people that I was talking to them. And I told them that they were crazy because I'm like, there is no way I am going to get online and tell people that I'm talking to aliens with my mind. Like,
Right,
it's
right.
not going to happen.
Yeah, they
Well,
were
the
crazy.
Epstein files are out now, and
mean-
everything's believable now.
Like,
you
you
know?
can't pay me enough to do that. And they're like, no, do it. People will get it. And like, that's when my channel started to gain a lot of traction because people just resonated. And then you have the Israeli ex-minister of defense or whatever, who's like, the Galactic Federation
Galactic
is
Federation,
real,
right.
you know, or like the CIA declassified documents of a remote viewer literally going to the same Galactic Federation mothership that I went, and he sketched a picture of one of the rooms, and I was just kind of laughing to myself. I'm like, really? That's all the details you got? Like, you can't see more than that, right?
Right.
So, but like I said, I don't get a lot of validation in what I do until like you've got another remote viewer doing and saying that stuff.
Right. So with the Galactic Federation, so break that down for people who don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Like, is that like a governing body of different beings, kind of like a government that is, you know, in space, or what are they exactly?
Yeah, exactly that. They are essentially a governing body for this solar system, this galaxy, this universe. It's a coalition of many different species and civilizations, so it's quite a wide variety. And as long as they agree to abide by the laws of the universe, they can join the Galactic Federation. There are many different species in the universe that don't want to abide by the laws of the universe. So there essentially needs to be sort of a governing body keeping everyone else in line if they do go against these laws.
Balance.
Guardians of the Galaxy, anybody?
Yeah, exactly.
It's always in the movie.
That's crazy.
So the biggest difference between, say, them and our own government system is they don't create the laws. They just abide by them, the ones that already exist, like the law of non-intervention, the law of free will, the law of karma or cause and effect, the law of polarity. Like, these are the things that they sort of govern, and then they make sure that others govern them as well.
Yeah, polarities is paramount when it comes to our existence and how balance, it's so key in life. And going back to, you know, quantum mechanics and whatnot and quantum physics. So I don't know if you looked into quantum entangled photons. So essentially, photons are, particles of light, packets of light. And scientists looked into quantum entangled photons, right? What makes up essentially, on the simplest level, our universe and whatnot, and how, you know, things are entangled quantum on a quantum level. They looked at these photons, and no matter where they are in the universe, they're connected, right? But they looked into what they actually look like. They are literally the symbol of yin and yang.
Oh my God, yes. I did look at that just
Yes.
recently. They
Yes.
just recently posted this picture of what quantum entanglement looks like.
Yeah.
Absolutely blew my mind
Yeah.
that it, like, no word of a lie, looks exactly like yin yang.
Yin yang.
Yeah.
That is the polarity. That is the balance of the universe. Now, going to the movies real quick, how Marvel, everybody's seen Marvel, everybody's seen, you know, Avengers. Now, Thanos,
Loki.
he was Loki. Thanos, he was obsessed with what?
Lady Death
Well,
or Death.
death, but balance. It was all about balance. He wasn't doing what he was doing, getting rid of half of the universe because it was evil. It was about balance. It was too imbalanced. So he wanted to have the universe be balanced to where there is peace. And I always go back to that, you know, kind of ideology, because people look at me crazy when I say I don't want to be happy all the time
Right.
because it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
I want peace no matter what.
Yep.
If something bad happens, bad,
Yeah.
I'm at peace. If something good happens, I'm at peace. It's being stoic, right? So I want peace in my life. So whatever happens, I'm like this. It's not a roller coaster. That's not sustainable because your mental health is at risk at that point.
So I love this, and I have my own way of describing this exact concept. So like in the spiritual community, there's like 3D or like 5D or the old earth and the new earth. And these are the different, essentially describing the different timelines, right, that are existing collectively. So, everyone thinks of like the new earth or 5D as like love and light and butterflies and rainbows. And like, I don't look at it that way.
Yeah.
And so I tell people, we still have to pay our bills. We still have to eat food. Like, we're still going to be rooted in this physical reality.
Of course.
Yeah.
But what's going to change is our perception, right? So challenge isn't going away in the new earth. Challenge isn't dark times, darkness. It's not going away in, 5D. But what is happening is we get to feel it, learn from it, and then have gratitude for the darkness. Like I always say that you can be the master of this reality, which is polarity. You can master polarity by observing everything objectively as a part of the whole.
Yep.
So when we react to negativity or we react to challenge as the victim, why did this happen to me? We're not able to surpass it or overcome it. It's only going to come back to us, right? But when we can observe it objectively, feel what it has to offer, learn what it has to offer in the moment, and then to observe it in a way that you can appreciate it. If you can appreciate the darkness just as much as the light, then you've essentially overcome polarity, right?
Correct.
And so I talk a lot about neutrality, objective observation, and 0-point frequency.
Yeah.
Like, I'll go into a lot of videos that are extremely polarizing. If you've ever seen my channel, I'll talk about Donald Trump and Epstein and P.
Right.
Diddy and like you name it, I'll get into it. But I'll always finish off those videos with neutrality. And, I love bringing in the people who hate Trump and I love bringing in the people who love Trump.
Exactly.
And then sort of whipping them into shape to say, if you love him or hate him, you're still just feeding into the matrix.
Of course.
Like you're
Exactly.
still just
100%.
choosing
Preaching to the
a
choir
side.
right now.
You
Yeah.
need to realize that both of these sides simultaneously exist and simultaneously don't exist. And if you can just observe it all objectively, then you're at a
Right.
place of true mastery.
For sure.
That's
Trump-
why we say all the time, because we bring certain guests on, and some of the comments, some people are like, "Well, why did you bring this person on? Why did you bring?" Well, this is a platform
Yep.
where we want to hear
Balance.
all sides. We
Yep.
want to hear this side. This side may make sense. You got to be objective. So
And that's the thing, going to Trump, he is a program that is necessary to break the system. I keep saying this to people. The fact that people think he is a solution,
Right.
he is not. He is here to disrupt the system. It's a corrupt system. Two things can be true. We always say this, right?
always,
Two things can be true. Yes, the current system sucks. The current system is corrupt. He is another entity to come in to break that. But then people are turning around, well, he's the savior and all. He's not, though.
He's not the savior.
And this is why I voted for him, because I knew this
Yeah.
system needed to break.
So
And that's the thing. And in voting, that's a
Right.
whole nother conversation.
it is.
They're selected, not elected. But I knew what he was doing. And he said everything he was going to do, he's doing it.
Yep.
And the fact that people don't realize, like, oh, ICE, and understand that is part of the program.
Yes.
That is here to break the system. And it's here to start to balance things out.
Yep.
Because the stuff that we're saying, all the shit we're talking about, is not so crazy now.
So back in 2016, right, when he originally got elected, I'm Canadian, so I'm super bipartisan and like,
Yeah.
I studied global politics in university. Like that was my major, right? I wanted to change the system. I thought I could do it from the inside, only to realize, holy shit, it's really corrupt. You can only do it from the outside. So, my biggest thing back when he was elected is like, who would choose that meat suit? You know what I mean? Like there's a soul in there. Who chose that? So what is his mission? What is his sole mission? So I've been talking about this since 2016. And then, of course, he gets reelected or reselected. And And the number one thing, like his sole mission is the bringer of chaos. That's what he is.
There
He
you go.
is the
Thank you.
he is the destroyer.
Thank you for
He
saying
is
that.
here. I have said this so many times on my channel. Every time I talk about him, please remember that his sole mission is to create chaos, to destroy the old system, both at a national level and an international level.
Yep.
It's not working for us.
Hello,
He is not
McFly.
the savior. His mission is not here to bring solutions. But we have to clear out the old system before we have the space to bring in the solutions.
Right.
And we need him at this time. And I think whether you're right wing or left wing, we can all agree that he's doing exactly what his job is,
Yeah.
which is to create chaos, to destroy and collapse the old system.
We
Right.
wouldn't have gotten. My true belief is we wouldn't have gotten these Epstein files talking about these satanic groups, and it's just they're telling us now. But I don't think we would have gotten that under.
I mean,
Kamala Harris.
right now, like major things he's pulling out of the World Health Organization. Thank
Yeah.
God, right?
Massive.
Like the World Bank, all these non-government organizations are all super corrupt.
Right,
and
clearly.
there's so many people who are protesting it around the world because they think that the government has their back.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So why are you guys fighting for a system that is so corrupt and is detrimental to everything?
I mean, it's like someone being in an abusive relationship and being like, this is
Exactly.
better than the unknown.
It's called
Because-
Stockholm syndrome.
Yes, because we all fear the unknown, right?
Right.
And
course.
it's like, guys, switch it up and realize that it was never working for you.
right.
So what else could be a solution, you know?
Yeah.
So it's so nice to hear that someone else is saying the same thing about Trump, because I either get one side or the other, but this is true sort of mastery, is to observe both sides, both ends of the scale, both polarities, and to come to this middle ground, you
Yeah.
know?
That's
And so
paramount.
and I bet you anything, because I always say that, you know, a podcaster or an interviewer, like your audience is a micro mirror reflection of you, right?
Mhm.
And so for me, it's like I've always just had a hard time like labeling myself because I don't fit into like one
Yep.
bracket or another. Like, am I a psychic or a medium or a remote viewer or just a spiritualist or a teacher or a student? Like, I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if your audience is just like mine, right?
Yeah.
So I've got 33% on one end of the scale. Let's just say, for sake of ease, like they're left wing. I've got 33% on the other end of the scale, right wing, or whatever the scale is, the
Right.
polarity scale. And then I've got 33% who are just like me, who are like super neutral and just observing.
Right.
And I love that. I love that we can sort of dip and play into polarity. I love dipping into 3D. I love triggering people, bringing them out of the 3D, giving
Right.
them a different perspective.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Neutralizing
Right.
and I always tell people, if you're listening to this information and you are triggered, if you have a reaction, then you're still feeding into the system.
100%.
Because no matter what side you're choosing, you still think there's only two sides to choose from.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's massive.
You're at home here. You're at home here.
Definitely. And the fact that we always reference movies. Now,
Always in the
in the
movies.
Matrix, going back to the Matrix. So when he's showing Neo the Matrix, like it's a simulated version of the Matrix where he's showing the lady in red and all
Right,
that stuff,
right.
right? He's explaining to him, until everybody is ready to be unplugged,
Right.
they're going to unknowingly fight for the system.
Mm,
So when Smith goes in and out of people, that means they're still plugged to the system. So they're a tool to be used. So they don't know that they're defending the system that is causing their detriment, causing their demise.
right.
So that's that. I think that part of the movie was so crazy, and it was so important because people think that, like you said, the left or the right or whatever the case may be, choosing a side. The key is not to choose the side, is to be objective as possible, be in the middle to where you can zoom out and be out of the matrix and make decisions from there. Because if you're making a decision while you're happy or you're sad or mad, that is not a balanced decision. You're being used and manipulated in a way to where, oh, I hate Trump, I'm going to make a decision off of this. Or I love Trump, it's going to be based off of this. Instead of being like, hey, all this shit sucks. All this shit doesn't work.
Yep.
And I'm going to make my decision moving forward that way.
Right.
And you're being used otherwise.
Yep.
So, and again, this is why I know for a fact that Donald Trump is going to be the last president of this United States. I say this, United States, is because, and this is going into my talk of how America is the Matrix, right? It's the old regime.
Yeah.
Going into something new, whatever it looks like, if it's like, you know, a Congress type of situation, they're running stuff, or it's just a monarchy, we don't know.
Right.
But for this old system, United States Inc.,
Yep.
which is a corporation, Trump is here to break that.
Yeah.
And that's what he's doing.
Yep.
He's showing all the corruption, doing ICE and all this chaos.
Whether he's a part of it or not, he's still disrupting it. It wouldn't have been this way if Kamala was in office.
So let's actually talk just briefly about Trump and the Epstein files, because I looked into this, right, just recently. I was curious, and I'm objective, so I don't care. And actually, as a remote viewer, you can't have an opinion.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah, you're so outside of...
It's called front loading, right? So if I were to love Trump, right, and I were to remote view him, I'm only going to observe a part of my projection on what I want to see.
Right.
So, the same goes for being a human being and looking at the world, right? Like, we see what we want to see. So as a remote viewer, you have to be as objective as possible. If I have too much emotional stake in the game, I can't see it.
Right.
Or I just won't, right? Like, if I'm trying to, remote view my own life, sometimes it can be difficult. I don't have a whole lot of attachment on my own life, but, it's much more, difficult, right? So I took a look at Trump and the Epstein files, and what I saw was that, he was there, or he was a part of it, okay? And then I was kind of curious, I wonder why. And what came through, and of course, take or leave any of this, because I'm not here to convince anyone. I'm just here to relay information that I've witnessed. He's had to play a bit of both sides to get to where he's at.
For sure.
And that just makes sense because, the powers that be, I call them the powers that were, or the shadow government, or whatever you want to call them, they're still running things to the point where he wouldn't be in a position of even running for presidency if he didn't play a little bit of their game.
For sure. It's their game.
So he's not that he's a full pawn, because now that he's in, he's shaking shit up, right? And it wasn't time for him to do that in the first term. So it's like he had to be there. Like, he had to be a part of it. He had to kind of have the one foot in to sort of be accepted by that group, to play the game a little bit to get to where he is now. Once again, do I think he's a savior? Absolutely not. Do I think he's coming with a whole bunch of solutions? Definitely not. I think that there are different people to come in with that, but is he collapsing the system? And the other thing too, and I predicted this in my 2026 prediction video, because as a remote viewer, you can take a look at future timelines, but that's just what they are. They're timelines, they're possibilities. Right? Infinite number of them. One of the things that I saw that was going to be a huge trend this year was the end of globalization. And it's fascinating because now he's pulling out of all of these global non-government organizations after my prediction, right? Which is so cool. And the reason why this is significant and the reason why this is really important is because of something called the New World Order, right? And it's like that new government structure that they've been sort of directing us towards for a long time essentially wants everyone to be ruled under one government system. And under that one government system, we all have to, basically you'll own nothing and you'll be happy,
right. We say that
sort
all
of
the time.
vibe, right? And so that's globalization. Like, it is a novelty that we can walk into the grocery store and have a pineapple from Thailand. Like, that shouldn't actually be the case. And we need to go back to self-sustaining countries. What are you exporting? What are you importing? What can you create locally? By bringing that back in, we're bringing the power back to the people.
Right.
And so it's a good thing that Trump is sort of putting an end to globalization as we know it and sort of being more state-centered and national-centered rather than international. And a lot of people don't understand that. They think globalization can be a really good thing, but it's really feeding into that one world government structure.
System. Yeah. Right, for sure. So to ask you more about Trump, because I've heard different things from different remote viewers. So the timelines and whatnot dealing with Trump himself. One of them being that that's not Trump himself, like that's another entity. Do you see anything like that at all? Is that him, or what we seeing is like a former shell of him? Because there's a bunch of different things I've heard.
Right. Yeah, it's funny actually. I just got asked this yesterday in an interview. Like, is Trump a clone? Because I talk about clones a lot, right?
Right.
And like, I only know that clones exist because I stumbled across a cloning facility underground, and like,
What state was it? Nevada?
that was back in I don't know. I mean, it's funny because when you're like traveling around, like it was definitely desert. I don't know if it was in Nevada. I don't think it was. Anyway, besides the point, it was underground and completely hidden. And so, and I never wanted to talk about clones. Anyway, so but yeah, yesterday someone asked me and I didn't have an answer for them. That's something I've never looked into. Biden, 100%. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton, yes, for sure.
Yeah.
We've seen her clone break down in front of our eyes.
That's
but
in
no,
Epstein files, by the way. The Biden clone.
Yeah,
They're
it
talking
is.
about he had a mask and
He had a
they're talking about
He was shot in 2019.
yeah.
crazy,
Yeah.
right?
It's crazy.
So yeah, no, I mean the answer is I don't have an answer for you. I actually don't know if he's been replaced or
We got to
just
get
a body
Elizabeth to
double.
look into that.
Yeah,
That's
I
the next
gotta
thing.
add it to my list. This
Yeah,
is twice in 2 days now,
Yeah.
so I gotta
Add it
get
to
on
the
that.
list.
I gotta get on that.
For sure, because I think it has to do with a few things. So I've talked to other remote viewers and they said that he has something around him as well. Kind of like the way they explained it is he has his own kind of psychic soldiers or remote viewers or something like that, to where it's hard to see and they're blocking stuff. And then another one said that that's not him at all. But going to the possibilities and timelines and whatnot, do you foresee that that Trump is the last president, or do you foresee anything in the near future, like, hey, what's going to happen in 2030? Because Agenda 2030 is that you'll own nothing and be happy type of scenario going into that, or we don't know exactly. Like, how do timelines work exactly?
Yeah.
From what you know,
Yep.
going into the future and what we see.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big concept, but essentially when it comes to individual timelines, it's your individual perception, your individual focus that creates the next moment, right? If you believe in something and you focus on it, it's bound to kind of appear, or you're bound to shift into that timeline. Collectively, it's a little bit different. It's essentially the more people we have focusing on one thing, one reality, like millions of people watching a movie and then creating that predictive programming, we create that timeline. And so 20 years ago, there was one main timeline on planet Earth, which was that New World Order sort of shadow government. They had complete control over us, depopulation agendas, things like that.
Right.
Now, with the emergence of a consciousness shift and the awakening and more people questioning and waking up and breaking outside of the matrix and things like that, it's really tipped the scales. And so there's this new timeline that's created, which is the exact opposite of a one world government. It's sort of that the unity consciousness. It's everyone is provided food, water, shelter, like the world is sustainable and like nature comes first, and like, there's solutions to disease and plastics and things like that. That's like the new Earth timeline. Something that came up when I was remote viewing 2026 is fascinating. And as always, take it or leave it, especially future stuff. It's like,
We don't know.
Like there's
possibilities.
and it's in such a flux now because the frequencies are all over the place that
Yeah.
CERN.
it's
Yeah.
20 years ago, it was way easier to be like, yes, this will happen. And then it happens because it's just so rooted.
Right.
Now it's like things are not rooted anymore,
Right.
especially collectively. So what I saw, the first thing I saw when I was remote viewing 2026 was a giant mushroom cloud, a nuclear bomb. I'm like, oh shit, okay. And then I saw all of these people getting the same imagery. I saw whether it be Christians or psychics or just random people having these crazy dreams of this mushroom cloud or this nuclear bomb going off or this feeling of impending doom or this apocalypse or this cataclysmic event. people are going to start feeling into this timeline. And this is what we have to realize, right? No fear around it, because every timeline does exist. So what I saw was that in the old Earth timeline, right, it's going to end, and it's going to end with an apocalyptic World War III type event, which does look like a nuclear war, like a global nuclear war. However, it doesn't mean it's the end, right? It's like those individuals can then shift their frequency over to the new Earth timeline and then fully exist here, right? So we might get, like, if you get some people on and they're talking about World War III or this nuclear war or this like probability or what they're picking up on, just know that that is the case, but that's only the case for one timeline and not the other one that we're sort of populating right now. And then it goes into NPCs and non-player characters, right? And essentially, when you have someone who feels like they are an empty body and they're soulless, that concept never really resonated with me, because I'm like, no, everyone has a soul. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
And what it comes down to is the majority of that person's soul. Okay, I call them fractals, right? Because we're not just one thing; we're like many things. But that the majority of that person's soul fractals are existing in an alternate timeline, in an alternate reality. And then when that reality shifts, they move their soul fractals. So you can be existing in one timeline and have a family member feel like, hello, are you even here?
Right.
And they're not. They're actually on autopilot because their consciousness is existing elsewhere.
Got you. That
So that
totally makes sense.
So that explains NPCs. And that's just from my own observation.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Right?
I'd never heard it that way, put it that way for like NPCs.
So they're not empty completely.
They're just preoccupied.
They're just somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So going to the World War III thing, that's also in the Epstein files.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. So there's an email. This dude emailed everything. So there's an email showing, and that's another thing too, real quick. I think we have to also take everything with a grain of salt
For sure.
for the Epstein files, because we don't know at this point what's real, what's fake.
Yep.
But what's in there is that he said, hey, is the World War III plan still a go?
Mm.
And this is in the files.
Like, why is he typing this in an email?
Like, he's saying like there's a World War III and there's like a plan for it, which is very interesting only because also in the files, it's him, Bill Gates, and another guy talking about a strain pandemic simulation. And he has this email from like 2017. And that sounds like, obviously, 2020 COVID. And what's even more interesting, after Epstein died, Bill Gates funded something called Event 201, which was a pandemic simulation of a respiratory virus on the global population.
That's on camera. You can look that up on YouTube.
Yeah, you can look that up,
They
Event
did
201.
that.
So
Yeah,
he
Event
funded that.
201.
And that was right before COVID happened.
Wow.
So it's the same plan that him and Epstein cooked up years ago.
Yep.
So it's super interesting only because are they trying to manifest this thing, right? Because they run these simulations.
Yep.
And is it to where now they're showing us this to manifest this kind of World War III thing? And now what you're seeing is kind of eerie.
Mm-hmm. Apparently so I mentioned this in a podcast, and someone mentioned that there are other remote viewers that are also picking up, like, the first thing they saw was this mushroom cloud of like nuclear bombs.
I'm seeing 2027. I keep hearing that. We had a remote viewer on. I think she said there's this event happens 2027. Like, that's when the shift officially happens.
So,
you hear anything about that?
Yeah. So I know I haven't heard anything specifically about 2027, but the original timeline was 2020 to 2024, 2025 to 2028. So 2020 to 2024 was sort of the beginning of the downfall of the old system.
Right.
2025 to 2028 was the continued downfall of the old system. And then after 2028, we can sort of initiate the new system.
Mm-hmm.
But we won't be able to do that until things really collapse. So they've got to get worse before they get better. And this is where we're going to see, that complete downfall. So what it's going to look like for us in the new Earth timeline is that all of a sudden you're going to have all this ramp up of like the end of the world and like the nuclear war and like all the things. And then we wake up one day and a bunch of people remember the world ended yesterday.
Mm.
And a bunch of people are like, no, it didn't. Like, I don't remember that. And the people who remember that, obviously, that's going to be a Mandela effect. It's going to be considered a glitch in the matrix, right?
Mm-hmm.
The people who remembered that were in that original timeline. The people who don't remember that it happened were always, or currently in that moment, planted in the new Earth timeline.
Right.
So that never happened for us, but it happened for them. And then they switched over from being the NPC or being there to here. Right. And then they wake up because they're here.
They're here. Which is very interesting because I've heard of this type of scenario happening to where the frequencies are doing this. Everything is starting to split more. There's a great divide. And there's a song like by Sammy Hagar saying it came out in 1977 called Crack in the World in 1977. And he says, we only have 50 years left. And from that time to 1977, 50 years later is 2027.
Wow.
And he says there's a crack in the world. There's a great divide coming in 2025, which is the beginning, like you said, and how these frequencies are starting to split because a lot of people are remembering things and, on one half, and other people don't remember, oh, it didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
I saw this. This is why there's so many discrepancies now because people are literally living in different realities now. And I'm starting to notice it even more. Mm-hmm. So like there's like a shift that is happening to where people are literally living in different realities, seeing things like a scenario that happens like with ice.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw this and this guy did this.
Yep.
No, this didn't happen. This happened this way.
And it's going to only continue, like these weird glitches, especially at an individual level. So I'll give you a really good example just for your audience to like fully understand how like the Mandela effect happens in different timelines. And this was back in 2014. So long before even the Mandela effect was named that. Like it just, no one was talking about this stuff.
Right.
But I was exploring quantum mechanics myself in my own remote viewing.
Right.
And I was taking one-on-one clients at that time. And so I had this client who was like this, middle-aged woman, like just like a housewife type of vibe, but like she was really struggling just being here. She was definitely, like an alien in a human body. She's like, I don't know what's happening, but she had a husband and all that. Anyway, and so she's like, do I leave my husband? Do I stay? Like he's just not waking up. Like I don't know if I can stay here. And I said, well, like try and raise the frequency of the household, like maintain that, and then maybe he shifts into your frequency, right? So she calls me up the one day. She's like, Elizabeth, I don't know what happened to my husband, but I don't think he's the same. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, okay, so last night, right? She's like, we sit down and typically like he watches sports on the downstairs TV and I watch, my sitcom on the upstairs TV. And like, that's our night every night, right?
Right.
They don't have kids or anything. And so she's like, last night, instead of watching our shows, we got into this crazy conversation over dinner. We talked about the last 10 years. We talked about our life together. We talked about everything that we've never talked about before. It was a 4.5-hour conversation that they had from the dinner table, and they were connecting. She's like, oh my God, this is all I've ever wanted. It's like this kind of conversation and connection. And like, I've been waiting for this, and it was amazing. And then we go to bed, and it was incredible. And then we wake up, and we go to the grocery store together. And she says, we're driving to the grocery store. And she says, on the way to the grocery store, I turn to him. And I say, wow, what a great conversation we had last night. And he turns to her and he's like, what do you mean? Like I went downstairs, like I watched
Twilight
the game.
Zone.
Oh,
And she's like, no, we talked about this and this. He's like, that conversation never happened. And he's like,
Spooky.
this is the game I watched. This is who won the game. She was like looking up what he was saying because she didn't believe that he watched the game because he was with her for that entire time.
Okay,
and so she calls me up. She's like, is my husband not my husband? Like, what happened? And I didn't know what was going on at the time either. I've never experienced a glitch like this. So I tuned into it and I was like, so last night he got to your timeline. Like he entered into your timeline. Let's call it the fifth dimension or the new earth timeline. Like he accessed your timeline. You guys were co-creating that timeline together, your timeline. And that's at the same time, you guys also existed in the lower timeline where you usually do your thing that night. Once you went to bed, which is the 0 point neutrality, you're not observing any timeline.
Right.
And you woke up, you both woke up in the lower timeline, but the glitch was that you remembered the higher timeline that happened the night before.
Right.
And he woke up in the lower timeline. So you remembered what happened in your timeline, the higher frequency, and he remembered what happened in the old timeline, the 3D frequency.
Crazy.
And that was the first really big Mandela effect that I experienced. And then I will say that they are still happily together, and they've both shifted, and they both watch my content all the time.
That's
And
Wow,
amazing.
so,
even
so
him,
they're aligned now.
they
They're
are
aligned.
aligned in the
Okay.
higher
There you go.
timeline, right?
Wow.
Miracles are possible.
Shout
but
out to
yeah.
alignment.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So there's just like a fun sort of Mandela effect.
Wow.
And that was in 2014. So we're going to see that much more.
Much more, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Things are getting weird.
Damn.
100%.
Yeah, I've always wondered. I'm like, yo, what does this actually look like? It looks
Yeah.
like that.
It looks like that. Yep.
Damn. So where people.
Okay, so then one more story, because this just happened like 2 days ago.
Okay.
Okay. So my friend's over, she's visiting, right? And we've got my little boy. He's just about 3 years old. Okay. We're working on his counting. So, and he's obsessed with marbles, and we've got like marble run at the house. So I put marbles in my hand, and he counts the marbles, and whatever marbles he can count, he gets to keep, right? And he's got his like little pouch or whatever, and he puts some marbles in his pouch. He's very excited about it. So, I put 3 marbles in. He's counting 3, give him the marbles. I put 5 marbles in. He counts 5. I give him the marbles. 6, 8, 2, so on and so forth. Right. So then I have 4 marbles in my hand. My friend's right next to me. And he goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm like, no, buddy, try again. He counts 5 marbles. I asked him to try again about 3 times. I'm like, I don't know why he's counting 5. Like, this is so confusing because he's been so spot on up until this point. I shit you not. I then look down at my hand, and there's 5 marbles in my hand. He did not, no one touched my hand. My friend was right beside me witnessing this, right? And she looks at me, she's like, how is there 5 marbles? I'm like, I don't know. Like, where did this? And she's like, the blue one, right? Like, there was like, I don't know, like 3 orange ones, 1 yellow one. And that was the 4 marbles. And then all of a sudden, this blue one just pops into my hand, like out of nowhere.
You've never seen that. There was only 4.
There was only 4. Like, I'm like, am I crazy? But my friend was there, and she witnessed this. And we were both like, where did this 5th marble come from, right? And so then it like kind of triggers this like, okay, so was my son in a timeline?
For sure.
Right?
I was going to say that. Yep.
Right? Where there were always 5 marbles for him.
Yeah.
And he's counting diligently 5 marbles. And I'm only seeing 4 marbles. And my friend is only seeing 4 marbles. But he kept saying it's 5 marbles, 5 marbles. Then all of a sudden, did we just switch over to his timeline where 5 marbles always existed?
For sure. He was probably on a frequency and that's the thing, kids
and
are
then he brought us into his frequency.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, and kids are so powerful.
Yeah.
Like they're lights.
He's like, no, this is it. This is what it is.
This is what it is, and brought you
And then
guys.
all of a sudden that's exactly what it was.
Damn, we're gonna see more of that.
Yeah.
So
We're gonna see more of that, and it's gonna seem crazy
Yeah,
until it's
yeah.
like, wait a minute, hold up. I know what I saw, because that's happened to me.
Yeah.
it happens all the time.
That just recently happened to me about just a couple months ago.
yeah.
So these panels, right? I was
Yeah,
putting it up
yeah.
in my room. So I have these panels in my room too. And I was cutting pieces of it. And I have the scissors, right? I have them. And I'm cutting it, and I turn away. And I look back, and I bullshit you not, the shit is not there. It's not there. I'm like, okay, hold on. Let me just think for a minute. Let me just not lose it. I'm like, okay, maybe I went back, because I remember I was looking for it. And I'm like, okay, it's probably in the drawer, but I looked in the drawer before and it wasn't there. So did I ever put it back, or did I? But I just used it. So it's not there. I'm like, okay, there's no way this is possible. I'm like, if this shit is in the drawer, I'm going to lose my shit. So I walk over and I pull open. The shit is in the drawer.
Facts. 2 days later, I'm looking for my keys. I shit you not. I'm looking for my keys. I know I set my keys on my dresser. So I'm like, okay. I look at my dresser. They're not there. I'm like, where the fuck are my keys? I know that they were just there. So I'm looking everywhere. I check my bag. I check the bathroom. I check everywhere. I turn around and my keys are on the dresser. And I know, you know how you just
You know,
Yeah.
when you know, you
No,
know.
no, no.
when
When you
just
know, you know.
And I'm just like, I know those keys were not there. I just checked.
Yeah.
It freaked me out.
It's so similar. So I was
Yeah.
like putting the dishes away the other day, right? And I was like setting, you know, the knives and the forks, whatever, on the table. And then I would turn around and like put them in the drawer. So I take this knife, this cutting knife. I only have one of this, like, you know, butcher's knife or whatever. I turn around, I grab it, I put it in the drawer where it needs to go. I turn around and it's there. It's on the counter. And I was like, what? Did I
Yeah.
just, what?
You know,
I just-
sometimes you're
I
not
just
sure.
Put this in. No. Oh
No,
my God.
and
Like
the times
I
that you're
literally
sure.
had just,
Yeah,
and then you
literally.
turn around and it's right there. And then I open the drawer. I'm like, did I duplicate this? Because duplication is a thing as well. Like there was
Okay.
like a whole phase of my life where I was just duplicating everything, which was wild. I'm like, I wish I could duplicate like shit that actually mattered, but it was like random shit that did not
Yeah.
matter. Anyway, so yeah, of course I opened the drawer and it wasn't there.
Right.
You know, like I'd never even touched it to begin with. So we're gonna get more of that because the vibration is increasing.
Yeah.
Timelines are shifting. Quantum mechanics is becoming a very real thing.
For sure.
And the less attached you get to this reality, to your routines, to the outcomes, the less attached you get to belief or identity, the
Yeah.
weirder things become. But then when you observe everything objectively and then you observe something specifically, you can create that timeline very easily. And I want to mention one more thing. The best time to shift timelines is when the entire world is in chaos or fear.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We see it.
Okay?
Yep.
Because you're no longer competing with 8 billion people who have the leisurely, you know, ability to say, this is what I want from my life.
Right.
If they're stuck in survival, if they're just getting by, if they're in fear, they're stuck, they're rooted, they're not creating their timeline.
Right.
Why
So
do you
for
think the
you, it's
government
like,
does that?
You
Why do
can
think-
just cut through.
Right.
Yeah.
Why do you think
They
they
do
do
that
that?
because they're
To
taking
keep
the
us
power
stuck.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
and I always say, in the midst of chaos comes opportunity,
Right.
you know?
It's so true.
So when people are paying attention to politics and war and money
Distraction.
and this, a lot of distractions in between that, like you said, the energy is a lot more abundant to pull from. So now
Bingo.
you can, hey, manifest your
Very
timeline.
easily move
Yeah,
through it. I
for
love
sure.
that. Yeah.
And it's so crazy now you say that, and we'll wrap up in a minute because we can go
Yeah.
all day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we've noticed this
Mhm.
every time that Trump is in office, my success wave goes like this.
Hmm.
Literally.
Literally, the last time he was in office,
Greatest time of our life.
when I did real estate at the time, took off, made 7 figures, did all this crazy stuff, like went crazy. And I didn't realize it back then, but now I see it now.
Right.
You know, I had
Yeah.
this, mass awakening, and I'm like, okay. And then like that 4 years when he was gone, it was a little rocky. And then again, massive amounts of success when he's in office. And it's not just, the economy and things of that nature. That is a red herring. What it really is that it's exactly that. In the midst of chaos, I'm able to pull energy and command and be the master of my domain at that time. Yeah, like sliders. Like it's crazy because I really realized it, and I told him, I'm like, do you realize it's like a wave every time he's here, the bringer of chaos.
Yep.
In the midst of chaos,
Yep.
we are here to be. Now we're really living out our purpose to where everything is just flowing.
Yeah.
Like money and this and that and things that don't exist anyway. It's just the energy itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Because money doesn't exist, time doesn't exist. The only thing I say exists is energy, and that's the most important thing in life. It's
Yep.
energy. This is why they try to energy harvest you with energy harvesting events
Yep.
and media, movies, music. They're constantly trying to do this because they want your attention, and attention is energy.
Mm-hmm.
So that I really realized that this go around, I'm like, okay, this all makes sense because everything's flowing.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's crazy. And I'm able to pull so much.
Yeah.
Like I'll think of something, boom, it happens. I'm
right
pulling
there.
it.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's
this
right
whole
there.
building that we're sitting in, we've pretty much manifested
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
tapped
to
into.
a T.
To a
It's
T.
insane.
Yeah.
To a T. We're like, we're gonna get this.
Yep.
We want this at
Yep.
this time.
Yeah.
We're gonna have these types of, people in our lives that they're gonna help us, and we want these types of guests, and everything is just flowing,
Coming
coming
in. Love it.
in.
Love it.
It's a direct connection to whatever energy we're pulling from because everybody's so distracted
Yep.
and everybody is just in fear and chaos and all this other stuff. So like you said, we're competing for this energy, at different times. And now people are so like this.
Yep.
And we're right down the middle.
Yeah.
So it's amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great. So
This
let
is
everybody
great.
know where they can find you. And you're speaking at the Conscious Life Expo, right?
Yep. For
Okay.
sure. Yeah. So if people are like interested in the content, I have my first book, which is called You're Not Dying, You're Just Waking Up, which is a pretty solid overview.
I love it.
Love that.
A pretty solid overview of like the autopilot, the questioning, the modalities, the agendas, like all the things. And then my book that I just released is called Your Anxiety is Giving Me Anxiety. Obviously all about anxiety. And so I highly recommend those. And then of course, just ElizabethApril.com for all of my content, especially the stuff that I don't feel safe putting out there to the public.
There you go.
Yeah.
Go.
And then the Conscious Life Expo is when?
February 20th, 21st, 22nd
Yes. And you're speaking
on the 21st.
on the 21st.
And I'm getting quantum. So my whole talk is about Schrodinger's cat, timeline glitches.
Oh,
Like
nice.
Fire.
it's very overwhelming for me to kind of deduce, but it just pumps me right up because I'm like, let's get into it. And the
Sure.
fact that I even want to go there is a good indication that people are ready to go there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, for sure. We got to have you back.
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. I
Yeah,
mean,
definitely.
I'm just down the street, so
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
it's easy when you're local.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have you back. This has been great. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Appreciate you for all your
sure.
enlightenment, for sure.
Likewise.
And then I'll see you at the Conscious Life Expo.
For
we
sure.
we
Yeah,
got to
I'll see
get
you in a month.
into Area 51 and UAP, UFOs.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, yeah.
Yeah.
3i
next time.
All the
Atlas. Yeah, I
things.
want to get into that next time. We'll save
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we'll save that.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I'll be at the Conscious Life Expo too, you guys. So get your tickets below. The link is below. I'm speaking on February 20th at 6 o'clock, talking about how America is the Matrix. It goes into what we were talking about and how everything is just layers of constructs. So get your tickets. That's at 6 o'clock. I'm doing a 90-minute talk on how America is the Matrix. So appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys question everything because nothing is what it seems. Peace.
Yes, sir.